And joining me now from Atlanta is Stacey Abrams. Welcome to Meet the Press.
Thank you for having me.
Let me start with the impact of Hurricane Michael, particularly on southwest Georgia. I know your opponent is going to be touring the area this week in his capacity, as Secretary of State says, to see how local officials are going to be able to see if they can handle the start of early voting tomorrow. Let me ask you, what do you know about the area, how things are going? Are they ready to be worrying about early voting yet, or do they need to be worrying about getting the power on?
I think it's going to be a combination. Areas like Albany or Glasgow County, Terrell, and parts of southwest Georgia were very strongly devastated. I know that Georgia Power and the EMCs are doing the best they can to turn power back on and deliver it to as many people as possible. But luckily, early voting allows for major centers to accept vote, and I hope that the priority will be, in terms of voting, making sure that those places are ready. But I know all of our hearts are reaching out to everyone in those areas. I've gone through a hurricane. It's a devastating process, and it takes months for recovery to happen. But I think that the governor and the state leaders have done a great job of responding very quickly.
I'm curious, what's your message to residents of the area? You could be the governor you could be elected governor in a couple weeks. Suddenly, the task of rebuilding this part of Georgia is on your to-do list. What's your message to those voters of why you would be better prepared to lead the recovery than your opponent?
Number one, I've been through this myself. I understand that it's not just the physical plant that's a problem. It's making sure that people have access to the resources they need. And often when the cameras turn off and when people go home and stop volunteering, that's when the real trouble starts. When people who have been unemployed are continuing to try to figure out how they can make a living and take care of their families. And so I will leverage the responsibility of the governor, the ability to connect with state and local officials and federal officials to make certain that resources don't just end when the memory of the storm passes for the average person. And I think that's what you need, someone who's thinking about this not as a 3-day or 3-week return, but really as a 10-month, 12-month recovery period.
Let me ask you about an issue that's been front and center for your campaign over the last week to 10 days, and that is this issue of rejected voter registration forms due to this issue of exact match. If it is an exact match, then suddenly the registration gets thrown out. 70% of these registrations belong to African-American voters. Do you believe this is an intentional decision by your opponent in the office that he runs?
Absolutely. I was part of a coalition that sued him in 2016 to force him to stop using this process, and a federal judge agreed with us, said that he had unlawfully canceled more than 33,000 registrations, and they forced him to restore those registrations. In response, the Republicans passed a law in the 2017 legislative session to allow him to do it again. And so the challenge is twofold. One is that we know this is a flawed system that has a disproportionate effect on people of color, but it also has the ability to erode trust in our system. I know that Secretary Kemp is well aware of this, and it's part of a pattern of behavior where he tries to tilt the playing field in his favor or in the favor of his party. This should not require the erosion of public trust.
Are you confident this is going to be a fair election in November?
I am, and here's why. The 53,000 that we know about do have the ability to go and cast a ballot. The problem is it's a subjective system with 159 counties and thousands of precinct poll workers being asked to substantially verify. That's why this is problematic, because we are creating another set of hurdles for people who simply want to exercise their right to vote. But my organization, working with Democratic Party, we've put together the largest voter protection effort in the state's history, and we have national organizations that are also paying attention, and I think we can make this work.
I want to ask you about a comment that Eric Holder made, former Attorney General. He was campaigning for you, and it's sort of blown up into a bit of a national story. And he essentially said, when they go low, we go high. No, 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 no. When they go low, we kick them. He goes on to explain what he meant by that it was more proverbial than anything else. But where do you come down on this? Are you on the Michelle Obama side? When they go low, you go high and you stick to it? Or what Eric Holder is preaching, no, every once in a while, you got to kick them?
I think there's a hyperbolic moment that happens in every campaign. But if you watch my campaign from the beginning through today, I have always focused on 3 issues: education, jobs, and healthcare. I don't point shotguns at people in my commercials to try to create histrionics, and I don't use sloganeering to try to get good things done. My responsibility is to show Georgians how I will lead the state. And if they watched my campaign from the very beginning in June 2017 through November 6th, they will see the same consistent leadership that I will bring to the governor's office.
Sounds like you're siding with Michelle Obama. I won't put words in your mouth, but that's what it sounds like to me. Fair enough?
I am siding with the people of Georgia that I intend to be a strong leader.
Stacey Abrams, I'm going to leave it there. Be safe in the campaign trail, and I appreciate you coming on and sharing your views on Meet the Press.
I appreciate your time.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.